We're more than halfway through what may be the most drama-free week yet in President Trump's young administration, but controversies remain on both the real and alleged connections between the Trump administration and Russia. This week, the New York Times reported on a possible peace plan for Russia and Ukraine, put together allegedly by two Trump associates and a member of Ukraine's parliament. Now that Ukrainian lawmaker is being investigated in his country for possible treason charges. National security reporter for the New York Times and one of the writers of that piece, Scott Shane, joins me now via Skype. Scott, thanks for being with us.
Happy to be with you.
So this was an explosive story, and some people have been pushing back on it since it came out. Our Margaret Brennan reports that Michael Cohen of the Trump Organization responded to your story. She says he acknowledges meeting with the two men mentioned, but flatly denies giving a proposal to the White House, as you reported, calling it part of a fake news narrative. Can you clarify anything based on that claim?
Well, I can't speak for Mr. Cohen. He told us repeatedly and very clearly that he had taken the proposal to the White House and left it in the office of Michael Flynn, who was then the National Security Advisor. Mr. Flynn, of course, was fired about a week later. But, he told us he took it to the White House, and we had no reason to disbelieve that.
How do you think the incoming National Security Advisor, Lieutenant General H.R. McMaster, would handle getting a document like the one you reported on?
Well, I think what's unusual about this, of course, is the back channel nature of this. It went from a Ukrainian member of parliament to a former business associate of Mr. Trump, who then brought in Mr. Cohen, the president's private lawyer. Mr. Cohen's not a government employee, but handles Mr. Trump's personal legal matters, who told us he took it to the White House. That's obviously not the way foreign policy is usually made. So I would assume that General McMaster, the new National Security Advisor, would probably, prefer that proposals like that get sort of vetted, handled and reviewed by experts on Ukraine and Russia, and come up through the normal policy process.
And what more, Scott, can you tell us about this Ukrainian lawmaker?
He is a 48-year-old member of parliament for the last 3 years. He's got a long history in business. He's lived in the States for 7 or 8 years, he told me. He does have a little bit of baggage. He served 2.5 years in jail awaiting trial on basically embezzlement charges. He claims that was they were completely trumped up charges, based on, political disagreements. And, I have not been able to look into that to have an opinion on that. But there has been a lot of political payback in Ukraine, jailing people for political reasons as opposed to criminal reasons.
It's fascinating stuff. I want to ask you about something else. The leaks that are coming out of Washington have been more like floods rather than drips in President Trump's first few weeks. Some have been pointing fingers at what is being called the deep state for this. Can you explain what that is?
Well, the deep state is usually a term that's applied to countries like Turkey or Pakistan, where elected leaders have sometimes been overthrown by essentially the security establishment, the intelligence agencies, and the military. And the idea is that there is this deep permanent state and that elected leaders sort of come and go. So some people have applied this to the situation we're in now with the Trump administration. The deep state, meaning the security agencies or other agencies leaking to undercut the elected leader of the country, President Trump. I think it's somewhat of a misapplication of the term, partly because people are leaking not just from security agencies, but from all kinds of agencies, certainly the EPA and many others, because they have new leaders who many people believe are at odds with the traditional mission of the agency. Certainly that's true with the EPA, for example. And also, I think you see leaks coming for all kinds of different reasons, as you did under President Obama, under President George W. Bush before him. People are promoting a policy they like or trying to sabotage a policy they don't like by getting it out in front of the public. That's pretty much a normal, sort of standard part of policymaking under both Republican and Democratic administrations for decades. We're seeing more of it now because of perhaps the unusual nature of the Trump presidency as an outsider sort of taking on Washington. But I don't think it's anything new, and I don't think it's really appropriate to call it the deep state trying to undermine the president.
So, I mean, it's been reported that, as we've said, that there seem to be a lot of leaks, but based on your years of covering the Washington and the national security apparatus, this is more or less normal. I guess the question is, what are these leaks going to do to the presidency? How is Donald Trump going to react to them? We've already put up a tweet that he says that they will be caught.
Well, it's interesting to hear him say that. The last president, President Obama, was also furious about leaks. And, whether he actually ordered this to happen or not is something that's never been quite clear. But his administration set a record for prosecuting leakers of classified information. There were 9 or 10 cases, depending on how you count them, compared to 3 such prosecutions under all previous presidents. So if President Trump does, in fact, try to crack down on leaking and try to prosecute people for leaking classified information, which can be a crime, he'll be following in the footsteps of President Obama.
Scott Shane from the New York Times, always great to talk to you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me on.